Welcome everybody to the Friday 5 for September 30th, 2022. My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm an estate planning and business law attorney. I've got offices in Edina, Minnesota and New York City. Today we're going to go through 5 questions from this week that came up in different consultations that I thought might be interesting to you. First question, should my will be put in a safe deposit box? So on a call earlier this week, my client's mother had died and we're trying to find where the will is. She thought it was in the house, but as she looked around, she couldn't find it anywhere. There's one last place to look, and that place is at the bank in her safe deposit box. Now the problem is, because that will is in a safe deposit box linked to an account only in her mother's name, we can't get to that will. We've got to go to the court, we have to go to her surrogate's court in her town to actually get an order to be able to open the safe deposit box and then get access to the will, and hopefully the will is in there. Because if it's not, then we have to go through an entirely separate process. So if you've created an estate plan and you've got your original will, you want to make sure you know where it is, and it's not somewhere like a safe deposit box where you're going to need to have access to if something happens to you. Because if it's only your name on it and it's not in anyone else's name, they won't let you into that safe deposit box. And even if someone else's name is on that safe deposit box, many banks will actually not allow you to get into the box when they find out that somebody has died. They will make you go get that court order. And if you've created an estate plan to try to stay away from your local probate court, you've now undone all of that work of trying to stay away from the court. Question number 2 this week. When do I need to update my estate plan documents if I move to a new address? And this actually came up twice. One was a client who's moving out of state. The other one was a client who's moving down the street. So in the case of someone moving down the street, you don't normally have to update your estate plan documents. Your will probably doesn't have your exact street address, but if your will does have a specific bequest, a specific gift of your property, and it has your address in there, then you need to make sure that you are updating your will so that that gift does not lapse. On the flip side, I had another client who's moving from Minnesota to California. In this case, she had actually come to me to say, I'd like to do a couple quick updates to my will before I leave. Now, my advice to her is we shouldn't do that before you leave. In fact, you should go talk to a local California attorney, see what their state offers, what their estate plan documents look like. If you're looking at a permanent move to a new state, it probably makes sense to speak to a local attorney. Even if you're not trying to update your documents, you want to make sure you understand the way the estate plan documents work in that state, and it may actually benefit you to update your documents in the new state. There may be things you can take advantage of that weren't available to you in your old state. Question number 3, and this came up in a federal court case I'm working on. What is ESI? ESI is what we call electronically stored information. When I work with clients and we're stuck in a litigation, especially business clients, ESI is a common form of document that we're going to be looking for. And when we get to discovery and we're exchanging documents and asking questions, ESI can really form the foundation of the entire case. Many clients will ask me, I don't understand what ESI is or what this means for my case. Well, realistically, most things you have these days would be considered ESI. Your emails, your Word documents, your Excel documents, your PowerPoints, your PDFs, your bank statements. So anything that comes to you in electronic format would be considered ESI. Now, it's important as part of your case to make sure that you understand what is ESI and also what are the requirements for when you produce it. Now, in some cases, your adversary will only want just a copy of the document as a PDF. In most cases I work on, however, we want to make sure that all the documents are identified, they have what's called Bates numbering on them, and we also will often look for what's called the native format of the file. You want to see what was in the file, see what the metadata is in that file, and that's the advantage of ESI, is you don't just get a piece of paper, you get to see what data is embedded in that file. Question number 4 for the week was, can we use a trust to own our business? Now the answer to this is yes, and it's actually going to flow into question 5. But you can use a trust to be the owner of your business. It can be called a business trust. You can use it to own a company. So for example, what some of my clients will do is if they own real estate in an LLC, they can actually have that LLC then owned by their trust. What that does is it essentially creates a succession plan with an estate plan for you. So if you are single and you don't have any close family or close relatives and you want to make sure that that rental property that's in an LLC is protected in case you die, one thing we can do is put it into a trust that has a succession. So we know that if you die, somebody else can take over the property. If you don't have this provision, if you don't have a trust owning an LLC, you just own an LLC outright without any kind of succession plan, well, then when you die, that LLC has to go through your local probate court, and they have to sort out what's going on with your business. And that leads into question number 5. Our final question for this week came to me about cleaning up LLC documents from an online website. I almost said the name. So when you use an online website, they give you very much a form document that anybody can use that has the most basic things that any company or LLC would want in their document. But there's a lot of advanced features that you're not going to get from that website. So this week when I met with a client, he brought in a document. He had created an LLC using an online website, and it had really basic information, which was fine and dandy. However, as we just talked about with a trust owning a business, there were a lot of other things he could take advantage of. Using the LLC operating agreement, we can have that succession plan, whether we put it into a trust, whether we have other people involved in the business that we want to work in here. We can also have restrictions. So, for example, your operating agreement can say if one of the owners gets a divorce, their shares cannot be transferred to their soon-to-be ex-spouse. Because if you don't have that provision and someone goes through a divorce, your business can get wrapped up in a whole divorce case, and now you've got somebody seated at your table who can be awarded an ownership interest in your company, and trust me, it's not going to be fun dealing with a disgruntled spouse. So these are our 5 questions for the week. I hope you enjoyed them. It's September 30th, 2022. We should have some new questions for you next week as we start out October. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer on the Friday 5, you can go to my website, andrewmayers.com/Friday5, and I'll put a link to that page in the description as well. I hope everyone has a great weekend.